Hi, I'm Sonya White Jaguar. Welcome to this edition of White Jaguar Wednesdays, my semi-monthly series where I discuss spiritual subjects inspired by your questions. Before I get into today's topic, I wanted to take a moment and thank those of you who have written to me recently to let me know that you've had success with contacting Alan Rickman on the other side. And I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to write to me and let me know that the material that I've been sharing here on YouTube and the books that I have on Wattpad have been helpful to you. So thank you. Someone said that they had made contact with him using a pendulum and he answered questions. Someone else used the tarot cards. Someone else actually bought a flashlight and got him to respond to yes/no questions with the flashlight. They turned it on for yes, left it off for no, which is great. I had demonstrated a short interview with Alan in one of my earlier videos where I had two flashlights going. He turned one on for yes and the other one for no, but you can use just one flashlight. And so I'm glad that that worked. And thank you so much for letting me know, that you had tried that. And someone also has had some regular telepathic communication with Alan too, which is really outstanding. So thank you so much for taking the time to let me know that this material has been helpful to you. Please continue, to write me, and ask your questions, and I love to hear your comments too. So please, again, thank you so much for doing that. And so someone else had written and said that they're looking for some techniques to help them prepare for connecting with spirit and being able to see and hear them. They asked, is it something that you have to open or turn on in a certain way? And how do you train yourself to have more experiences across the veil? And someone else had written to me, someone who had had contact with Alan. She was saying that she's ready to take her interaction to another level. She feels Alan, she knows that he's guiding her, but she would like to have a two-way conversation with him where she can actually hear him and respond and go back and forth. So that's basically what I'd like to address in this series. I'd like to take the next few videos to answer that question and share some techniques that you can try so that you can open up more and really expand your clairvoyance and clairaudience and have regular contact with people on the other side. So first of all, I just wanted to say that I was not born with the ability to do this. I've been circulating in the spiritual community for a long time, working on myself for a long time, and that ability opened up naturally. So you don't have to have some kind of special dispensation, to do this. It just takes practice and time. I had started attending meditations, weekly meditations back in the 90s, and I just kept circulating in the spiritual community from there. And I took my first healer's training in 2005, and it was a 2-year-long training course where the teacher would come into town for the weekend and he would lecture in the morning, and then in the afternoon we would set up massage tables and someone would lay down on the table, 2 or 3 people would work on the person on the table, and then we would switch. And we would do that Saturday and Sunday every 3 months for 2 years. It was a very intense training, but really incredible. And what I found over that time was that I really opened up. I was able to, read the person's chakras, their aura. Sometimes I would even get a download, like a movie from a past life, and then I could tell them, what I saw and say, here are the lessons, from that life and so forth. But interestingly, what did not happen for me was to see spirit guides. No spirit guides came into the room, gave me any messages to pass along. It was very interesting. I saw all kinds of things about the person, but no spirit guides. So that opened up for me later. And it was actually when I took Reiki in 2008 in my Reiki level 1 and 2 classes in those attunement meditations. That's when finally some spirit guides came in and started to share messages with me. It was very profound, very emotional. I'll never forget those experiences, but that's when it opened up for me. And I've had contact with spirit guides on and off basically ever since then. So I'm just sharing that with you, to let you know that, there's no hard and fast way, that this might open up for you if you're brand new to it. I recommend trying different techniques and see what happens. Just be patient and be willing to keep practicing. Okay, so as I started to put my notes together to answer this question, Alan came to me. He was very excited, and he said he wanted to be a part of this series, and he wanted to share some suggestions to help you with opening up so that you can have more experiences across the veil. So I have a lot of different advice to share from Alan over the next several videos. The first thing that he asked me to share was actually a message that he gave me. So let me just take a moment to read this message to you that he shared with me. So with regard to communicating with people on the other side, he said, just be open to the experience. It's awkward at first because society doesn't promote communication across the veil. It can be a very natural experience, as natural as breathing, something you do every day, slipping in and out of the physical and higher dimensions. Because the soul is naturally part of the higher dimension, the soul comes from the higher dimension. This is our birthplace, so it is our birthright to maintain contact with our loved ones, ancestors, and spirit guides. There is nothing to fear. The first thing I recommend, which Sonya has talked about before, is to work on your fear and release any fear you may have about communicating with loved ones in the higher dimension. Fear is taught, unfortunately, but it can be unlearned. The first thing you need to realize is that the higher dimension is love. It's the love of the heart. So the more that you can see, hear, feel, and know that love in the center of your being, the more at ease you will feel when you begin to make contact with those in spirit. Make contact with your heart first and know that love first. Imagine that your heart is a glowing egg in the center of your chest, and then imagine that egg is growing larger to encase your entire body. Feel the egg as the core of who you are, your divine essence. When you connect with that essence within you, which is pure love, you will be able to more easily and directly connect with the essence of loved ones and other guides, because it is the same essence, the essence of pure love. So what Alan is saying there is that that ability to turn on, the communication across dimensions really starts with the heart and making that connection with the heart first. It's like the heart is the portal to the higher dimension. So I think he's stating that very clearly there, that that's where to start. So I asked him for, some additional information, and he basically recommends meditation, quite simply. When I asked if he recommended any specific kinds of meditation, he said no. He said any meditation exercise that will help you to open yourself spiritually and connect with your heart. He said to basically start with that. I would recommend experimenting. You can certainly do the meditation exercises that I provided in my earlier videos. I would particularly recommend the one where I was talking about how to develop your clairvoyance and clairaudience. That is a heart-centered meditation. I think most of my meditations are heart-centered meditations. But experiment, try different ones. You can try other people's meditations as well, or just simply sit in silence and try it without any kind of guided meditation. And I do recommend journaling your experiences, because then you can look back over time and see, look for any patterns and see what worked best and see what kind of insights you got during those meditations. I've kept meditation journals for years. I have meditations going back at least 10 years. I even have a journal from the meditations I did back in the 90s that I mentioned, and it's fun to go back and look at some of the things that I had written back then. So I do recommend that you do that as a way to begin to open up and to develop that connection within yourself. Another company that I wanted to recommend, they make outstanding meditations, is Sacred Acoustics. Now, I'm not affiliated with Sacred Acoustics, but I've been using their meditations for about 10 years, and they're really outstanding. I've mentioned in my previous videos Dr. Eben Alexander, who is a neurosurgeon who had an amazing near-death experience, and he's been teaching about the afterlife and the convergence between science and spirituality. And he does an amazing job. His partner, Karen Newell, teaches with him, and she's a co-founder of Sacred Acoustics, and she does the guided meditations in their meditations. I definitely recommend their work. I always say to me, they're like on the cutting edge. They use brainwave entrainment frequencies and tones in the recordings. So they're designed to help you relax the brain and get into, basically to move from the waking state, the beta waves, down to the sleep states, alpha, theta, delta, and that can be very helpful for making contact with loved ones. Generally, communication happens in like that alpha wave state. Reiki, the frequency of Reiki is an alpha frequency, and I recommend too, when you're ready to start making contact with loved ones, ask them to communicate with you when you're first falling asleep at night and when you're waking up in the morning, for that same reason, because your brain is not fully awake yet, and you're not in those beta states yet. You're still kind of half awake, half asleep. That's a good space to be in when you're making contact. So try that as well. I'll drop a link below to Sacred Acoustics website. It's just sacredacoustics.com. You can check it out. And I have a lot of their products. I've been using them for about 10 years. I find that my father likes to come in when I'm meditating with Sacred Acoustics recordings. I don't know why. He just seems to like those. I have talked with him at other times too, but he seems to really like to come in during those meditations. They just came out with one called Secret Garden that you might want to check out. I just got it. And it's similar to my meditations, where it's like you're going down a path and then you enter a secret garden and you can communicate with a loved one on the other side during that meditation. Theirs is different than mine, because where I'm playing the drum, they're using the brainwave entrainment frequencies. So give it a try and see what happens. And so that's basically what I wanted to cover in this first video as an introduction. And so I hope that you'll join me for the rest of the series. I'll be discussing some other techniques you can try, some visualizations, and some physical things you can try, including using crystals. A lot of people love crystals, and Alan has some good suggestions for crystals. So I'll be discussing that in a future video too. So I hope that you'll stay tuned and join me for the rest of the series. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below or email me at SONYA@SONYAWhiteJaguar.com. Please keep your questions and comments coming. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you can get notified when the next video is posted. You can also subscribe to my newsletter on my website, SONYAWhiteJaguar.com. You can receive notifications that way as well. So I hope that you'll enjoy this series. Please stay tuned for the next video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.